He died for 17 minutes and said he saw Jesus Christ. The doctors called it impossible. His mother called it a miracle. What he saw beyond death became known as the 2029 prophecy, a message that would change lives around the world. Before we begin, support this channel by leaving your like and comment. Now let's go to our story. The rain fell softly over the small Nebraska town, washing the streets in silver. Inside a modest kitchen, the smell of coffee mixed with the sound of a ticking clock. Laura Harper stood by the sink, her hands trembling as she stared out the window. Her son, Eli, had always been curious. Too curious sometimes, always asking about heaven, about what comes after. But that morning, something in her heart felt heavy, as if heaven itself was holding its breath. Eli was 12, thin and bright-eyed, a boy who noticed everything. He loved building things from scraps, loved asking questions no adult could answer. "Mom," he had said the night before, "if Jesus came back today, do you think people would recognize him?" She smiled weakly, not knowing that by the next afternoon her son's question would become prophecy. The sky that day was pale gray, clouds low like heavy thoughts. On the drive home from school, Eli hummed softly in the back seat while his father, Mark, talked about a new construction project. The world felt ordinary, the kind of ordinary that makes you forget how fragile it really is. Then came the curve, the flash of headlights, the scream of tires. A truck skidded across the slick asphalt, and in a single heartbeat everything turned to chaos. The impact was thunder. Metal screamed. Glass shattered. When it stopped, there was only silence and rain. Laura's voice broke through it, calling her son's name. Paramedics pulled her away as they tried to revive him, their shouts echoing against the storm. But at 4:12 p.m., Eli Harper was pronounced dead. For 17 minutes his body lay still. But Eli was no longer there. He said later that when his eyes closed, the darkness wasn't cold. It was peaceful, like falling into music. He felt himself rise, weightless, surrounded by a light that pulsed like a heartbeat. Then he saw someone standing there, tall, radiant, eyes full of eternity. "I knew it was Jesus," Eli would whisper later, "because when he looked at me, I remembered everything, even the things I didn't know yet." Jesus didn't speak in words, Eli said. His voice was in the air itself, in the warmth, in the silence. He showed Eli a world made of light and mercy, and then he showed him something else. The earth trembling, cities fading, people reaching out for hope. And then he said, "Tell them I am coming soon, but their hearts are not ready. Tell them to choose love, before fear becomes their master." When Eli opened his eyes in the hospital, Laura was at his side, holding his cold hand and praying. The heart monitor began to beep, slow at first, then steady. His mother gasped. The doctors rushed in. Against all reason, the boy's heart had restarted. And as he blinked into the bright hospital light, the first thing he said was, "Mom, I saw him." She thought he was confused, maybe delirious, but when she asked who he meant, his voice broke the room's silence. "Jesus, he told me something about the future." In the days that followed, Eli told his story again and again. He described colors that don't exist on earth, a fragrance like truth itself, a love so powerful it hurt to leave it. He said Jesus showed him years that were still to come, wars not of armies but of hearts, people divided by fear, by greed, by disbelief. And then he spoke the words that became known as the 2029 prophecy. In 2029, light and darkness will stand face to face, not in the sky and in us. Every person will have to choose which one to follow. At first, no one knew what to do with his words. Reporters came. Pastors questioned him. Scientists called it hallucination. But Eli didn't argue. He didn't try to prove anything. He just kept saying the same thing. He said, "We still have time. Time is mercy." The town became divided. Some believed. Some mocked. Yet wherever Eli went, people felt something. A strange calm, a sense that maybe, just maybe, heaven had brushed against earth. His drawings began to circulate, a great clock striking midnight, people reaching toward a rising light, and beneath it all, a cross standing unbroken amid the storm. Years passed. Eli grew quiet. By 2025, he was 17 and rarely spoke about his vision. But every night Laura would see him sitting on the porch, staring at the stars. One evening he turned to her and said, "Mom, it's closer now. I can feel it. Everything he showed me, it's almost here." In 2029, the world began to shake. Solar storms lit the skies. Floods washed over coastlines. Nations argued and faith turned into fear. But in the middle of it all, millions of people reported the same dream. A figure of light standing on a mountain, whispering, "It's time." That's when Eli spoke again, one last time. He posted a message online that spread faster than any storm. Don't be afraid. What's coming isn't punishment. It's awakening. Jesus said the world would not end. It would begin again. But only those who forgive will see it. Choose love. Time is mercy. Then Eli disappeared. His parents found only a note on his bed. "I'm going where he showed me. Don't look for me, look for him." No one ever saw him again, but his words never faded. The phrase 2029 prophecy became more than a story. It became a mirror. People began to ask themselves what they truly believed. In churches, schools, and even city streets, voices echoed his message: choose love, not fear. Time is mercy. Some said he was a prophet. Others said he was just a boy with a dream. But those who met him spoke of something impossible to explain: the peace that followed him, the quiet sense that maybe heaven wasn't as far as we think. And maybe that's the message Jesus gave him that day. Not doom, not fear, but hope. A reminder that even in chaos, love still wins. Because sometimes God doesn't send thunder or fire. Sometimes he sends a child to tell the world that time is running short, but grace still remains. If this story moved you, subscribe to Real Testimonies for more true encounters that touch the soul.